Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of Waddle Fence. Today we're going to discuss a little bit more in detail about the Waddle Fences, how to make curves and bends in your Waddle Fence, and also how to make a gate by using the same material. Stay tuned for more. Hey guys, so welcome back. Before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying our videos. We try to come out with weekly videos, and on top of that I try to do an additional video as well every week, usually a DIY or fun fact one, something to do with off-grid lifestyle. So today, like I said, we're going to discuss the Waddle Fence. This will be part 2. I don't know if this will be the last part or not, but we'll keep going. We'll see where this goes. So let's get into it. Like we discussed in part 1, our Waddle Fence, our poles are not concreted in. We have a very clay-ish soil here on this particular property. It's about a foot deep of good soil, and then we hit clay. So the one thing you do want to realize when you're building a Waddle Fence is the material that you are utilizing for certain aspects of each part of it. So for your poles, you really want to use cedar. Cedar is a type of wood that does not decay very quickly. It's a very slow rotting type of material. A lot of pole barns are made out of cedar, and a lot of mailbox poles are also made out of cedar because it just doesn't really rot, at least not that quickly. So most of our fence, most of our poles are either poplar or they're cedar. Poplar is another really good one. It's a really light but strong type wood. We have tulip poplars on this particular property, so we did utilize a lot of those. The only downside to that is they tend to grow. So let me take you guys over to this particular pole and let me show you what exactly I mean by that. Almost dropped it. There we go. All right, so this is a poplar tree. I can tell because of the way that the bark is made, and then of course the leaves as a telltale sign. This did not have any growth on it when we put it here at all, and now it is growing. So that is a downside to that. I'm going to recommend when you guys are building your Waddle Fence, make sure that you're pushing your material down. So let's talk about the fencing material itself real quick. So most of our fencing material is going to be, again, this poplar. It's super light but super strong, and when it is green, which means it hasn't been dropped, it's been dropped pretty recently, like within the last week. It's very bendy and very flexible. Most of our poles are spaced about 3 foot apart because we wanted the bigger type wave to it, just to make it a little bit easier, because we did use a lot more thicker poles when we did these fences, just because we wanted them to stand up to a lot of things. Now, this is not high enough for deer. Obviously, deer can jump this at any point in time. This was more or less for rabbits. Now, there are some gaps and holes because we did not push ours down far enough in certain spots, but there are some nifty little tricks you can do to help fix that. Let me show you guys. Right here, you can see that we've got this poplar coming off the top and kind of weaving into itself. You can also take a lot of smaller trees that are really green, real thin ones like this, and weave them in and out of your spacings to help keep little pesky animals out, like rabbits and such. Now, it's not going to keep squirrels out because, well, squirrels can climb just about anything. So keep that in mind as you're building your Waddle Fence. Something else that you can do to help stop the little creatures from getting into your garden area with a wattle fence, especially if you live off grid like we do. You can plant thorned, like, fruit trees. Anything that's viney will help kind of cover it as well. The only downside is when you have to replace your wattle fence, because eventually you will. You'll have to gently take that off or cut it down. Hopefully you have something that's a perennial that come back. Hopefully, or otherwise you're spending a lot of money to replace it unless you have a lot of abundant of that material out in your woods. So what we did was we planted, this is a raspberry. It does have thorns. We do have a secondary one down that way that's supposed to help cover a gap over there. We don't know if it's gonna make it. We did get like suddenly 3 inches of snow in the middle of April, so we're not sure if it's gonna make it or not. So fingers crossed. We also have thornless blackberries on the opposite side. Again, they're gonna bush up and kind of be viney in its own way, so that will help as well. We're also going to do, I think Josh said passion fruit. It's a real viney type fruit. So that will help. And then on the back side from the gate, which was probably not the smartest idea for us, but we were running out of room inside of our garden area, is we put beans and peas back here. Now we will have to keep an eye on rabbits and stuff from eating all of those beans and stuff. So let's see, what else? Oh, let's talk about the gate. Gates are not necessary if you keep your wattle fence low enough that you can just kind of hop over. I wanted mine to be a little bit taller, which I will eventually make it taller as we go through and cut down more material. So I'm not too concerned about that right now, though. It's up and it's going to help protect at least away from rabbits, because we do have several rabbits that live right over there in here in the woods. We have a little rabbit hole over there. So gates are not necessary unless you really want one. I really wanted one because I really want an arbor, and I wanted it to look very authentic and very old and very rustic. I wanted to be as close to, I don't know, old pioneer ways as possible. Being a historian myself, I wanted something that represented my passion for history and living history. So let's take a look at this gate. So Josh created this arbor. It actually is not very tall. I'm 5'1 3/4", 5'2", if you will. So I can stand underneath this without hitting my head. He has to duck under it a little bit to get through, which is fine for him, he says. But yeah, so this is what he's built me so far. So when he put in the front panels, he did overextend these ends in here on both sides, and then went through the chainsaw and, you know, made it where it was even on both sides. So he has a hinging system in here starting from the bottom. He put a piece of cedar board here, so the pole, which is also cedar, has some way of actually moving, you know, sliding and won't rot. He utilized the ends here of the wattle fence to create a hinge kind of action, so this thing won't pop this way, it will actually flow this way. And he did that all the way up, which this is more or less the way it's attached here. So he's gonna have to put some screws into these. He put just nails, but the weight is pulling this piece out, so he's gonna have to put screws in this. He's already decided that, because you can see that it's got a gap here already. So the gate itself is the wattle fence reversed, so it's vertical instead of horizontal. So again, it's gonna help keep little things out. And it's a little heavy, I'm not gonna lie, but it does work. And it'll stay open for me. It won't just kind of slam shut on me. And then I will probably get some type of twine or make my own rope out of bark and material, because again, staying with that whole vintage idea, want to be old-fashioned, so I may make my own rope out of some bark. Yeah, lots of things you can do with the wattle fence. So this is just one of them. Now I'm gonna take you guys over to the camper where I started another wattle fence, which I will wattle fence my flower beds up here next to my wattle garden in the next probably few weeks, as soon as we have more material cut down. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be pretty and epic. It's gonna be awesome. So let me take you over here. Let me show you guys how to make a curve. So with our farm being called the Waddle Fence Farm, it's very obvious that I have made lots of wattle fences already. This is one that I am currently working on. It's not done. This is probably about an hour's worth of work. This is also including going through and trimming the trees out of the forest, coming over here, trimming extra branches off, and planting it and banging poles into the ground, cutting them to length, and then making the actual wattle fence itself. So let's take a look. So as you can see, like I said, it's not done. I've only got like 3 poles going this way, down this line. I've got about 4 or 5 coming up this way, and then this back row is completely done. So I wanted to have an arch type feel. I wanted it to flow around the flower bed. So how I created this arch, this was a pain. So you can see I've got a little bit of cracking. I definitely got a crack right there. It's okay. This other one definitely did not crack. It actually bent very well for me. So this is a different material. I believe this is birch. I was going to use poplar, but birch bends a lot easier when it's very young and green. I'm using poles like this. So not very big poles, not very big trees. I wanted to keep it very little because they have to be able to bend. When you're doing curves and bends like this, make sure that your wood is tiny and very flexible. I'm not familiar with all the flexible woods out there, but I do know that poplar is really flexible, but so is birch. So there's softer woods and they're easier to work with. I would not recommend oak, just because it doesn't bend as well. Even when it's green, it doesn't bend as well. It's a pretty sturdy hardwood. So definitely birch though. Birch is wonderful. So yeah, this is wattle fencing. Eventually I will wattle fence in this whole area along with my rock wall. That again, like I said in my last video, I am slacking on. I've been working on it. I'm going to continue it. And then of course my stone pathway. So lots of things to be done. I hope you guys got some information about wattle fencing. If I ever think of anything else, I will definitely do a third video in regards to wattle fencing. I will probably post a video of the wattle fence for Josh's crop circle pepper plant area, because I know he's real interested in doing that pretty soon. So you guys stay tuned for more. Till the next course.